Welcome to Stateside Gooners, an Arsenal FC show, the podcast where American Gooners get together to share insights, rants, and the latest on all things Arsenal. I'm Eric, joined by my co-host Matt, and every week we're here to break down the highs, the heartbreaks, and everything in between as we ride the Arsenal wave from across the pond. Here we dive deep into the nitty-gritty of what's happening on the pitch and beyond. Whether it's those nail-biting match recaps or the tactical decisions we're all debating, we're covering it with the intensity and passion of fans who live and breathe the red and white. From big-name transfer rumors to some of our favorite deep-cut Gooner trivia, we keep it real and relatable. So grab a tea, coffee, or pint, settle in, and join us on Stateside Gooners as we bring a fresh American perspective to our beloved Arsenal. Because win, lose, or draw, this is where our Arsenal family meets. And hey, if you're enjoying the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share it with your fellow Gooners. Your support helps keep this Arsenal conversation going week after week. Let's kick it off. What a season. Almost. Finished the penultimate game, took down the boogeyman, guaranteed ourselves. I am happy about that. You don't see the big smile? Took down the boogeyman, guaranteed ourselves Champions League for next year, guaranteed ourselves finishing second for the third consecutive season. We've got a lot to talk about in this episode, and somewhere down the line, we're going to talk about what a successful season looks like, but that is not today.
No, that's definitely
we have
not
a huge game coming up for the women that we're going to try to cover more than anything else here, right? We're going to cover that the most. And then we're going to do a quick, we're going to do a little like on Southampton. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. It's the last game of the season and everything is locked up. Everybody's going to be on vacation. So we'll see how that goes. And then we've got two quick, two not so quick things. So
it's no longer three.
And Matt, I don't want to jump into a dad joke or a spud joke today. We're going to skip it.
Ooh.
Yeah,
all right.
We don't have time.
Next. Okay. So we've got some European competitions that we want to talk about. Yes? Or is that later?
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
You want to talk about that now?
Well, what are we talking about on this episode? Did
Well,
I just cover all that? Because you had some things.
You covered all of it.
You're right, we did. What's the Michael Oliver FC versus Saudi FC?
No, Michael Oliver FC. That's also the name for Newcastle.
Oh.
Newcastle's name. Or you could go with Saudi FC. I can't really pick one. I need some guidance.
So I got a dad joke. What did the Irish call 66% of a crop?
I don't even want to know.
Two turds.
I knew it was gonna be some.
Yeah. I also I'll do one more real quick. I found a new website, conjunctivitis.com. Boy, Matt, that's a sight for sore eyes. All right, that's enough of that. European competitions, Matt. So we are going to have 6 teams out of 20 in the Champions League. Our UEFA coefficient means that we'll have 5, but they'll be either Tottenham, Spuds, or Minor. One of those two is also going to be in. So that will be 6. Then Europa League. So it'll be, if we looked at the way things go right now, it'll be Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle, Chelsea, Aston Villa, based on that EPL coefficient, and either United or Spurs. That's today, not including the last game of the season. Europa League, the FA Cup winner goes in, so that means Crystal Palace. The 6th place team goes in, so that would be Manchester City. Wouldn't that be a thing? And then if Chelsea win, all these permutations, I'm not 100% certain how this goes, but I know that if Chelsea win the Conference League, that they get a place in the Europa League, just like United or Spurs win the Europa League, get a place in the Champions League. So, but if Chelsea finish in the top 5 or technically 6, then someone else is going to take that Europa League spot.
Because they'll be in the Champions League.
Or they'll already be in the Europa League. So I think if they're in the Champions League, it drops down to Nottingham Forest. I think if they finish in the Europa League spot and City finish in the top five, then Nottingham Forest isn't in Europa League. Looking at the stand at the table today, and then Forest being in seventh would be in the Conference League. But if Chelsea win the Conference League and Nottingham Forest goes into Europa League based on current standings, I think Brentford go into Conference League, and that would give us those 10 teams. So
It's,
I'm about 80-90% certain about all that. It's going to be really interesting, and I'm sure they have mathematicians that are trying to figure all this out, and it will all be decided at the end of
uh,
the games
Chelsea
next week.
lose
But
like
it's fun to think about. Half of the
it.
teams in the league.
That's pretty wild, and that will certainly strain the resources of some of these clubs. Some of these clubs will be able to, handle the travel, handle all of that, and rotate squads, etc. But some of these clubs aren't going to be able to do that. It's just going to be really hard for Crystal Palace. It'll be hard for Brentford. I'd
Be
even
hard for
venture to
Nottingham
say it'd be hard
Forest.
for Forest as well. But it is going to be it will be challenging for some of these clubs.
I think it's going to be hard for Newcastle, to be honest. They don't have a very big club.
It's
But
fair.
it's
It's
interesting
fair.
that
They might have to prioritize.
some teams that finish second have finished second multiple years in a row, have no strikers, and some teams that finish 16th
And
have
lose 12
multiple
games.
strikers and don't know how to use them.
Mm.
Anyway, Arsenal 1, Newcastle United 0. Any surprises?
Michael Oliver FC 0. For me, Isak didn't play. I did not hear about this. I read later, groin injury. That's never good. Groins keep you out for a while.
They do.
Hmm.
Not all season, according to our left eight turned center forward, our first left eight turned center forward. He came back. I was
Yeah,
surprised by that. I was surprised he
you.
actually got on the pitch. Yeah, I was surprised he got on the pitch. I was surprised that after getting shut out three times by Newcastle, we shut Newcastle out.
That feels pretty good.
It does.
Clean sheets are always good. Always.
Thoughts
And
about the game? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
and boy, thoughts about the game that those first 17 minutes. No Isak, but plenty of chances
The, and I
for
get
Michael Oliver FC.
yeah, and I get sick of us, and I've said it before, and I'll probably say it again. I get sick of us dominating possession. We had 69%. I'm going back through my blue sky. We had 69% of the ball, and they had way better here. 69% of the ball, conceding all the best chances. Is that 4 or 5 already in the first 16 minutes? That was what I posted. And I counted it up, Matt, and it was at least 4. But as I was watching the highlights, it was Bruno, Henry Barnes, Livramento, and Byrne on his header. But I think Byrne fell down and got a toe poke kind of from the ground that also had to be kick saved. So that's
Hmm.
5. That's 5 saves in 17 minutes, and that's crazy. And we didn't really have those quality of chances that required that kind of save.
Yeah, listeners, I would really strongly recommend you go watch those saves. Holy crap, there's some really beauty things in there. And Raya's really been coming on here at the end of the season. It was
Yeah,
sort of just like those first, 10 games that he played of the season. He was fantastic in making those sort of game-changing sort of saves. Doing it again now. Now we got to get that for the other, what,
half the season.
48. I got to get out my calculator here. So, right, we got to get it out for another 25 games. We need him at that level. That's the level we need him at all the time.
White goes over twice inside the box in the first 25 minutes. Both were Dan Burn. One was a tackle sort of over to the corner, and then one was kind of right in the middle, just outside the penalty spot. And I was writing that I didn't really think either one. I think he went down a little too easy on the first one. And I think he went down as a result of a touch on the second one, but he was not in possession of the ball. So I think probably both of those were, unfortunately, not penalty kicks, but I know you have a thought on that.
Well, I know people like to. There are some, and you're one of them. You like to apply the rule. Well, if this happened against Arsenal and Arsenal were the defending team, would I be upset that this penalty were given? I'm going to put a different spin on that. I'm going to say if this were Arsenal, do I think it would be given as a penalty kick if it were the other team? And I guarantee that second one, Ben, where Burns slides in on Ben White, that would have been given a penalty if it was Xhaka, if it was Saliba, for example. I guarantee they would be given as penalties against us. So using that criteria, it's a penalty. The second one for sure. The first one, I'm with you. I don't think there's anything in it.
I
But
think he got ball.
yeah, I think the second one definitely would have been a penalty.
Miles Lewis Skelly was again one of the best players on the pitch, and it's interesting because I kept writing. I've been writing a lot lately about how we're not sending Martinelli over the top enough, and I wrote that Miles Skelly was trying to send Martinelli over the top, and he has the ball ready to kick, and he's pointing, go, go, go to Martinelli, and Martinelli wasn't going. But all the other times Martinelli made runs, nobody looked at him. So I think he was just thinking, well, I'm making all these useless runs. Um, there was
Yeah,
one later on where Kivior sent him, and it was close. And I don't know that that type of kick coming from MLS or Kivior that we're going to see that next year from Gabriel if he's here.
yeah, I don't know that you'll see it from Big Gabby. I do like the idea of doing that more and more. I do like to take the Route One approach just for some variety. I think it would be good for Arsenal to have some variety in their attack.
We did an episode earlier where I talked about
How do we
um,
score?
what
How do we attack?
like all the different ways that we
Mhm.
can play. Option A, option B, option C. What I
Hmm.
didn't call them option, but whatever. And we had five or six. I think we got down to E or F. And man, lately as the season has gone on, and maybe it's because of personnel, but there wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot of options. It just seemed like it was always this umbrella. But Miles Lewis Skelly pushed very far forward at one point, and he got the ball right around uh, top of the key, if you will, right at the 18, and he just cushioned the ball and his body and did a nice little turn, and he got a shot away. It was weak, but I enjoyed that, and that was not long before on the clock. I don't remember how many minutes it was, but it was not long before we got a goal.
Yes, and talk about that Rice goal. Wow, that was something, wasn't it?
It was a little bit of what we want to see, I think, from our two number eights because Gordon
Hmm.
had a really good game. I wrote Ben is getting toasted down his side. Gordon's really just killing him for speed. Gordon had a really good game and he got pickpocketed by Odegaard, who did a little dribble and he just slid that ball between three different players, pulled it back. It probably went across 15, almost 20 yards, but the cutback was just 3 yards in depth. He was just beyond the 18. And when Rice kicks it, he's about 2 yards behind the 18.
Yeah.
And that kick, his body positioning, you see so many times where somebody's just leaning back when they make that kick and it ends up either just over or way over. And even though his body was so far leaning to his left, he was leaning forward enough and his foot was in the right position that he just curled that. And it was almost posting in. He got it side
Yeah,
netting.
it was very close. It hit the side netting. It was a really wonderful strike, and that the spin that he put on that ball was, I mean, that was special. And on that day that Michael Oliver United, they have a good goalie. So it was going to take something special, and it did. And that's what Rice did. It was great.
It was interesting that
for him.
we took some short corners, and I was wondering. It's been a while. It's been a couple games since I've seen Jover on on the screen, Jover, and I wonder if he's still our set piece coach or if he's been relegating to like sweeping up and collecting trash after all our draws.
He's still our set piece coach.
I
He's
haven't
still
seen
our set
him.
piece coach.
Had a little fracas,
PGMOL. Yeah, what happened there at the end? I saw Byrne pushing and shoving on a corner. He threw down Kai,
right?
and I must say, it takes a bit to throw down Kai at this point. He seems to have bulked up a bit. Yes. What did they put him on
He was
during
on
the
horse tranquilizers,
I don't know what they gave him. They gave him something. Um, Good old-fashioned work, I guess. But he looks bigger. So pushing him over is no mean
well,
feat.
Dan Burns 2 inches taller than he is
Yeah, how
and
tall is he?
still
He's like
thicker. He's
six
six
eight. He's
three,
huge.
six
He's huge,
five,
that
and
guy.
yeah, Dan Burns bigger.
And he just pushed him over. And then there was just a fracas. Everybody was trying to get at everyone. It was very you don't see this in football much, do you?
It
It's
was
been a
really
while.
interesting for me because there were all 10 or 11 players right there in the 6 yard box for Arsenal immediately
Yes, yes,
defending
yes.
Kai, defending Raya pushing people around because Kai went down. I think Raya got like shoved. I don't know if he went down. And then there were only like half the Newcastle players were really kind of like in that area. And
It
so
was
they had kind
half-hearted
of
on their
skipped out
part.
pretty quickly. But I thought it was, I said, Simon Hooper, finger quote, PGMOL agent,
Yeah.
was kind of telling everybody all of his thoughts about what he saw happening. And then allegedly told in his ear by a very large, bald ex
Oh no,
ex
not that guy.
yeah, like head PGMOL
He just
agent
said enough.
that it was already Newcastle already had their 2+ minutes because this was in the 97th minute of 5 minutes of extra time. Liverpool extra time, as I like to call it. You remember back in the day, and I bring it up all the time when
Oh,
Liverpool got all that extra time that they didn't deserve and
it
nobody
was
knew
like
why they were
15
getting it.
minute, was yeah, it
Yeah,
was
and it was like the
terrible.
10th minute of a six
Bunch
minute
of penalty
extra.
kicks.
And so yeah, and
Yep.
yeah,
Mm.
I call it Liverpool extra time.
Yes, and I don't know, maybe since it's Newcastle, we need to start calling it Michael Oliver extra time.
Well, maybe.
I think we're well, when it's Newcastle, I think we should. I think we should. We need to start tying that Michael Oliver more and more to Newcastle because that's who he supports.
Man of the match.
Raya, hands down, it's Raya, right?
Oh
No?
yeah. No, without him we lose that game 5 or 6 to 1.
Oh
He
yeah,
made
it's a
so many good saves.
yeah, he was quite good. Here's where we stand, folks. Clinched second place in the league. Eric, is this really a good thing? Second place 3 years in a row.
Yep.
I ask you. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
We also clinched Champions League spots with this win. So yes, we are in the Champions League. That's minimum for me. That's like bare minimum stuff for a season. That's what you have to do.
Second place is better than third. Third is better than fourth. Fourth is better than fifth. Second place is the first loser, but second place is second place. I'll take it as often as I can get it because guess what? When we weren't getting it in the last years of Wenger and we were going for a fourth place trophy every year, like when we were
Yeah.
going for a fourth
Yeah.
place trophy every year, we would have loved to be second place. So I think, let's everybody check ourselves because if you
Okay.
go back 10 or 15 years, you'd have been wishing for 3 years in a row of second place. And
I probably would have been.
semifinal Champions League and getting past the round of 16 against Real Madrid or whatever that
Sure.
quarterfinal.
The quarters, yeah.
This was a season that 10 years ago we would have been like, I'll take it.
Oh, you bet. Yes, I'd take that in a heartbeat.
Let's go through Barcelona women as quick as we can.
Yes, so here, what is happening this weekend? Saturday, May 24th, noon Eastern time. It's going to be on DAZN, DAZN. I think
DAZN.
they call themselves DAZN. It is free if you set up an account. So you can watch this match in full. Barcelona, Arsenal, Champions League final. Ooh, chills. Yes.
Yes, very
Lisbon.
exciting.
Yep, it's being played in Portugal. Lisbon, Sporting FC or Sporting. I think that's where they're playing
Sure.
the match in their stadium. To get here, Arsenal defeated Lyon in the semifinal with that wonderful match at Lyon. Barcelona humbled, destroyed. I don't know how you want to say that. Chelsea
Deleted.
in their canceled in their semifinal matchup. I mean, it was just total domination. Barcelona are the two-time defending Champions League holders. They're looking to make it three in a row. In the 24-25, so this year's Champions League competition, Barcelona lost their first group match. They lost it to City, Manchester City. They have not looked back since then. They have won and been very convincing wins in all their other nine matches. So they are on a serious heater right
They
now.
they won 4-1 and 4-1 against Chelsea, and before that, I think it was the German team, Wolfsburg,
Wolfsburg,
and they
six
won
to
four to
two.
one and 6-1,
Yes, just
10-2 total.
destruction.
Like, I mean, these are not bad teams. Chelsea won this league, and Wolfsburg, we talked about them being in they were the,
Traditional.
besides Lyon and Barcelona, they're the ones that have been in this, in this final in the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, whatever we talked about. So I can't believe that the best team in England, the best team in Germany, and that they just destroyed them like that.
And I guess you're saying best team in England based solely on the league phase, right? That's what we're talking
I
about.
mean, they've been the best team in England this not the league phase of this competition. I'm saying English teams against English teams. Yeah.
So here's common opponents for these two teams are Chelsea and Real Madrid. Arsenal lost both league matches against Chelsea. And the caveat I'll put there is that Chelsea's league form was just unbelievable and almost perfect.
We talked
I think
about
we
that
went through
last
that
time.
last
Yeah.
time. Arsenal defeated Real Madrid in their semifinal two-legged quarterfinal. After that disastrous 2-0 loss in Spain, Arsenal defeated Real Madrid in the return fixture 3-0. 3-0. So those are the two results that we've got for Arsenal against those clubs. Barça, as you mentioned earlier, dominated Chelsea in both of the head-to-head matches in the semifinal, 8-2 on aggregate. Barcelona split its matches this season with Real Madrid, losing to Real Madrid before Arsenal defeated Madrid 3-0. So does any of this matter at this point?
Nope.
It's just fun talking points, just data for people to look at and consider and ponder. Barca have participated in, including this year, Barca have participated in six of the last seven Women's Champions League finals. Their record in the previous five that they played in is 3-2.
It's not a gimme.
Correct. They are not steamrolling people in the finals. Let's talk a little bit about injuries here. Big one for Arsenal is this. Is Daphne Van Domselaar and her ankle, are they recovered? Everybody ready and fit to play in this match? I haven't heard anything at all about any news on Van Domselaar. I am truly hoping that she plays just like she did against Lyon in France because the team plays a whole lot different with her in the lineup.
I will
They're
say
much
this
better.
on rewatch, the Man City game or the Man United game, the last game of the WSL season,
Mhm.
that save that Zinsberger had, where she dove and saved that ball into the top left corner, that was world class. And
Mm.
if she can play like that across the course of the final and build that was a save that is a confidence builder. And so if she can play like that and be that keeper, then that keeper is good enough. It's her distribution more than anything that I worry about.
Ball at
And
feet.
random mistakes. But hopefully DVD.
Yes, we're hoping that Van Damselaar is able to play because she gives us our best chance. For Barcelona, some of their players, Claudio Pina, number 9, really dangerous. She's got 10 goals, 1 assist in 8 Champions League matches this year. Iwa Payor,
Payor. He
number
scares me.
17. She was a summer signing for Barcelona. And this Poland international, she's been fantastic. 7 goals, 3 assists in the 10 UCL matches. But overall,
She's either
just
36 or 37. Going
wild.
into that last game against Chelsea, the second leg, she had 35, and I think she got one of the four in that game. So I think she has 36, but I don't know if she had any in La Liga, the women's La Liga, since that game. So it's at
Yeah,
least
it's just a
36.
lot of. She is going to be trouble for, and she'll be trouble for our center back duo. That's where she plays.
Yes.
I like Caroline Graham-Hansen. She's their number 10. 3 goals, 2 assists. And I think it's going to be fun to see her and Katie McCabe mix it up. I'm excited for that matchup. I also like seeing Salma Parahuelo,
Number 7.
number 7. She is really pacey and she's not afraid to run at people. Now she splits time with Pina on that left-hand side. So her or Pina are going to be taking on Fox the whole all game. So that's going to be a matchup to watch. Midfielders, we've got Alexia Petullas. She's number 11. She has 3 goals and 4 assists in this tournament. Aitana Bomadi, she's number 14. She has 3 goals and 5 assists in 10 Champions League matches. And Eric, you found something interesting about her.
She stood out to me, not just as a midfielder, but her movement and her chill in the because I watched both of those games and she's very calm. In fact, when I talk about what I expect in this game, I'm going to talk about this in general, but she scores this goal in the second leg where she just sprints down the right hand side. Somebody goes in for a slide tackle. One of the Chelsea players goes in for a slide tackle. She just chips the ball over the slide tackle, jumps over in full stride, and just keeps going. And the whoever was next to her, that was the Chelsea player running next to her, maybe because she wasn't going to catch her, she just didn't try to stay where she was. She ran towards the center of the goal and left her alone until the Chelsea captain, number 4, had to kind of cut back across to cut the angle off. But by the time she
Mm.
saw what was going on, that nobody was on number 14, this Alexia or whatever, Aitana, sorry, nobody was on her. She just ends up getting a free shot, which was near post top corner. She didn't even go far post. She just blasts it. And I've seen our defensive players, I've seen McCabe do this, I've seen other midfielders do this where they don't, I guess if you're not going to catch them, you run away to try to pick someone else up in the middle, and then someone from the middle further back can cut across. But I've seen it
Mm.
happen where the communication isn't there and the recognition that, oh, I'm supposed to go now because she's not going to catch and she's covering the person. And
Okay,
then
so
we've
that
had goals
handoff
scored
doesn't
against us.
quite.
So
Yeah.
my point is that kind of awareness when every player on this team that they're going to face has that kind of skill. If you saw, maybe it was Alexia or maybe it was Hansen, one of them scores a goal in the second, and it was like the third or the fourth goal, just outside the far corner of the 18 and just curled it in around everybody, they can score from all over the field. Maybe
They
that was
are.
even Payor. I don't know. But they scored from all over the pitch, and it was crazy in both of those games. And we can't go like, oh, force them down the sides or force them in the. They're going to score from everywhere they want if we're not playing perfectly.
Yes, we are going to have to play really, really well. Defender wise, they've got two defenders in the center of the pitch, Paredes and Leon. Very good players. Leon is number 4. She's a tough physical defender. She's on the left-hand side and was more and more left leaning as Chelsea were attacking more from that right side. So she was getting drawn out more and more to that right side to help cover for their left back. So I'll be interested to see how that happens. And then Paredes, number 2, she's also in the center back. Their formation, Barca's formation 4-3-3. Here's what we expect the lineup to be. It'll be Cole in as the goalkeeper, battle Paredes, Leon, and it'll be either Rolfo or Brooks. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right at all. That'll be the left back. Bamadi, Guiaro, and Putellas in the midfield. Hansen, Payor, and either Pina or Paraguayo on the left-hand side. So those are that's going to be your lineup, with those two sort of either or. And this is a potent group of players.
Right. I think on our side, I agree with your lineup. I'll just go through it quick.
Yep,
Van Dam
run through it.
Solar, I agree, and I hope. Fox Williamson, Catley, and McCabe. And I agree, McCabe. I don't think that we're going to see Wubben Moy, even with
Hmm.
McCabe's last game. Uh,
That 8 minutes of mental. I don't know what she just checked out. I don't know what happened to her.
yeah, she went from best games to like really bad games a couple times
Yeah.
there. But Little and Caldente are going to be in the middle, and then Kelly Monham and Ford in behind Russo. And Monham, man, she sometimes she has these really good games, and sometimes she just kind of like floats through games. And so for me, it's like, are we better with her and her ability to both attack and defend, or do we want to see Mead kind of sitting in behind Russo instead of being forced onto a wing? I think that's going to be a big one. If we're behind at all in around the 50 to 60-minute game, or if we're tied and we need a goal, that might be what I do. I might go Monum for, pull Monum and put Mead in right there because it's just one more foot to score a
Always
goal.
good. Always good to have some talented folks in.
Let's Okay, so what are you interested in seeing here?
Oh, I think we've talked about it enough. How does the Arsenal defense set up against Barca? I mean, this is essentially the game as far as I'm concerned. How do we take away the space that they like to create? How do we nullify them on the ball? The one thing that I did notice, this Barcelona team is not known for their pace. I did mention one of their players that has a bit of pace, but she was it as far as I saw. I don't know what you saw when you were watching some of the games, but did you see any pace on their side? That's been the Achilles heel for this defense.
I think, Matt, that they were very relaxed on the ball, and so pace was not, they don't rely on pace. I don't think that that
Mhm.
means they don't have it. So when when their number 14 burst down that right side, she had all the pace she needed. She had not used it at all in that game. And then when she needed it, she was faster than everybody else.
So
So I
this
don't
isn't
know
gonna,
that I don't know that they have it or don't have it. I think that they don't use it as their primary weapon.
so Payor can get in between the center backs. So Catley and Williamson and their communication, they have got to be spot on this entire game. They can't suffer any lapses. Van Darmselaw, for me, Van Darmselaar is going to start, and she's going to need a really special games and absolutely no rebounds. Cannot spill the ball. They will pounce on it. Barca comes at you in waves, and they also have a very dangerous press. So let's talk about that press. Don't turn the ball over, and it's up to Kim Little and Mariana to matriculate the ball around that Barca midfield. How are they going to do that? That's one thing that I'm interested. How does Slagers deploy her players in order to nullify that press? It's not
I
just that the players have to figure this out.
I didn't notice in the two games that I watched, and maybe you watched more games than I did, but it didn't stick out to me that their press was really aggressive. What I noticed is that they scored first in both games,
Hmm?
and it's not like Chelsea didn't have plenty of time on the ball to do. I think they spent some time thinking about what they wanted to do, and in the amount of time that they thought about what to do, the press was on them. It's not like it was press on every single player either. Whereas Chelsea was trying to press Barcelona, but their speed of thought and movement just moved the ball between two players, back and forth, standing in the same spots, Chelsea women running around, or passing it back and forth between them a couple times and then passing it backwards. And Chelsea just ran around, ran around. I think that's what I noticed more is that they don't move. And I don't want to say they don't move. I'll talk about this later, but it feels like they move less because their intent is perfect when they move. And so it feels like the press is really strong, but I don't think it is. And I think we can beat that press. We just have to be as intentful. I don't even know if that's a word about how we move the ball and where. And I've seen us do that before against good teams. We did it against Real Madrid and Lyon.
Sure, we have that in our locker. It's a matter of how does Slagers and how does the team talk about that? How have they been practicing to beat that press? Take advantage of space, create the space.
We beat
It'll be
Lyon,
fascinating.
and Lyon has beaten basically the Lyon team that we beat has beaten basically the Barcelona team. And there may be a player here, a player there. Payor wasn't there, but
And yeah,
we pressed the hell out of Lyon, and and made them make mistakes. And I think it's possible if that's a strategy that you want to take against a team like Barcelona that we have the players and the skill to do it.
yeah, and let's talk about two of those. Ford and Kelly are wingers. They're going to have to be playing at the highest possible level that they can. And they are going to have to play some defense as well as push up on offense. And they're going to be there. For me, those guys are the key against Barcelona's outside backs. Can we generate offense through the wings? I personally hope that Ford and Kelly continue to switch sides like they have been. So Kelly come over to the left, Ford go over to the right, kind of shift things around because I think that will also help in their movement. Mariana, let's talk a little bit about Mariana.
Yeah, tell
She
me
was
about her.
with Barcelona team last year. Now she's with Arsenal. How's her familiarity with Barca's players? And of course, vice versa. They're familiar with her. Does that play a role in this match? I think it plays a huge role in the preparation for this because Slagers loves to tap into players, her own players' knowledge when she's building that game plan. So I think she collaborates with her players really, really well. So I think she's going to lean a little bit hard on Mariana as we head into this match. What say you? Is it an advantage for either team that
I
Mariana
think
took
that
them last year, or is
professional
it too
teams are
long?
professional teams, and I mean, there's enough video that if Mariana wasn't on this team, there's enough video to kind of pick and choose and determine a strategy. But I agree 100% that and it's been talked about a lot how she leans on her players for strategy. She and it's not because she doesn't know what to do. It's because she's willing to listen and use what she learns by listening. And I think there's a lot of good management skill there. I wish maybe McCabe would do a little bit of that. I don't know that he's not too proud to make that sort of change, but I think Mariana is going to give her something that she didn't know that might come into play. It might only be one thing, but I think that one thing is probably going
It
to
could be
matter.
the one, yeah, it could be the one thing that matters. Might be.
So what are
What do
you
you,
expecting?
yeah, well, here's what I'm expecting. I expect to see that Arsenal squad. I know, ever since that game in Lyon, they haven't been playing as top notch as they were at Lyon. I expect to see the Arsenal squad that defeated Lyon. That's what I expect to see. That team snapping into tackles, winning duels, getting these special plays, that goal from Mariana from their special players. I fully expect them to get that type of effort because that type of effort and performance is what's needed at this stage of the
I
season.
remember
You're in these
that
big games for a reason. You're playing against big teams. Show up, give your performance, live with it.
I remember talking about games or goals in the Lyon game, the second one there, when three or four perfect things needed to happen, one after the
Yep.
other. And it was only through effort that Ford got something, and then Monum got something, and then Ford got it again, and then got the shot or whatever it was, and the goal happened. And I saw that two or three times where Barcelona did that same kind of thing against Chelsea. It was strictly effort more than necessarily really good skill. I'm not saying it didn't take skill as well, but you make a good point that the squad that defeated Lyon, because they had all of that effort, and we haven't really seen that effort in the games against Villa or Brighton when they lost by a lot of points.
Yeah, and you got to wonder, are they, do they take off the handbrake for those games? Are they like kind of coasting at that point because they know they've got the big match at the end of the season? Who knows?
Here's the
Don't want
thing,
to get
Matt,
injured. I
is
want to
why
play in
are you
that game.
coasting and then you need to beat Man United in the last game of the season to keep second place? You know what I mean? Like there was, I don't think there was any coasting. I think they were playing poorly. And the point is they can play way better and they have played way better. And that's what they're going to need to do. And you're exactly right. That the Lyon game squad is exactly the attitude because the skills are there.
We've seen it. We know that they can do it. Barcelona's going to have a lot of ball in a lot of the ball. You saw this in the matches. I've seen this in the matches. They're going to possess it. Arsenal will have opportunities to counter, and they must move the ball quickly to generate these opportunities. We've seen these players do that. They like to do the counters. They will move fast. That's what I want to see happen. And I fully expect us to get a couple of counter opportunities in this match. Ultimately, I think this match is going to be a free-flowing affair. It's going to be lots of goals, multiple goals scored in this match. Be entertained. This is going to be a very entertaining match to watch. For the neutrals, it's going to be absolute blast. So anybody that doesn't have a stake in this, it's going to be great for them to watch. It'll be a good advertisement for the game. Barca are a little bit weak at defending free kicks of all types. This is something that I saw. And Arsenal need to take advantage of this at some point in the game. So it'll be fun to see that play itself out. And as I said before, Kelly and Ford, they will put in a shift in this game. They're going to leave it all out there. Chloe Kelly and Caitlin Ford are those kind of competitors. They will rise to the challenge. Lots going to be asked of them on the offensive defensive side, but I believe that they're going to do this. You have a couple things here.
Well,
Expectations there,
yeah,
Eric.
my worry is that Arsenal lost the first legs against Madrid and Lyon, and then they are lucky they had a second leg to use as a springboard to
Mm.
victory. And in both cases, that second leg mattered, and they used it to their advantage. In this game, there's a fine balance between security and free flowing, and I feel like one of the things that I hear a lot when people are doing first aid is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And I'm thinking automatically of Barcelona when I say that because they do play slow, but they play smooth. And when I say slow, they're thinking quickly, but they don't move the ball upfield necessarily quickly unless it's the right thing to do, right? So they'll just ping, 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 and it's ticky taka that we used to see the men do 10 years ago. They know how to dominate games and they're not going to be thinking. And the women, the Arsenal women, they need to be well drilled over these last, 10 days or whatever, so that they're not thinking either. Because if you think too much, if you have to think at all, it's already too slow because Barcelona are not going to be thinking at all. They're just going to be playing. And overthinking, and I'm looking at Katie McCabe, overthinking has hurt us in games. So I thought it was really interesting that as I was watching these two games, that Barcelona had smiles on their faces. These women were smiling. They were getting fouled, falling down on the ground, smiling as they're falling, standing up, smiling. Like, did you see what just happened? And then the ref's like, yeah, I saw what happened, yellow card, whatever, right? They're having fun. The only way I think that Arsenal are going to win this game is if they just go out like 12-year-old girls to just play a game for fun, and maybe we'll score more goals than the other team. And then they can be serious about it if they lift the trophy at the end.
Okay. I like it. I like it. Have a prediction for us?
Do you have one? I have one. I think both teams are going to score, and I think both teams are going to score a lot. It's going to be close. It could be either way, but my prediction is probably 4-3 to Barcelona.
Yeah, I as well lean towards Barcelona, and I think it's going to be a 3-2 match, with the last goal being scored in the last 10 minutes of the game. I mean, it's going
Mm.
to come down to it, and like I said, it's going to be a fun match to watch. So it's going to be exciting.
It wouldn't surprise
Hmm.
me to see Arsenal go up, be ahead in the game. We were ahead
And
one
be
nothing
chased
pretty
down.
early, pretty early, and then Man United came back, and then we went ahead, and then they came back. I feel like it's going to be a game like that, but if we give up that first goal, we're not going to be as confident as if we scored the first goal. So I think it's going to be super important to get out there and do the thing that they do and score that first goal in that first 15 minutes without
Yes.
conceding.
And if possible, multiple goals, please, in that first 15 minutes.
I don't have a lot to say about Southampton except it's not at home. I didn't even finish a lineup. I just I
I
don't I think everybody's on vacation for this game and it doesn't really matter what happens. It wouldn't surprise me to see anybody on the pitch. We can't play. The only one I know is we can't play Max Dowman, but anybody else is. I would love to. This is a Max Dowman
he
game.
can't, right? He's too young. Is that it?
Yeah, he still can't play, but this is a
He
Max
can't.
Dowman game, man. So I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised to see anybody on the field. I think we're going to see, we're going to see White because he needs the minutes. We're going to see MLS because he needs the minutes. I think we see Ricky because he needs the minutes. We'll see Kai because he needs that time to be back here. Jorginho probably could use some minutes. Maybe get some time out of some players that we haven't seen. Maybe Sterling gets some time. I don't know. Ethan's gonna play.
Yeah, as far as Benjamin goes and the right back slot, he's definitely going to be playing because I think I read somewhere that Timber's got some surgery queued up for him on his ankle here sometime this summer.
Of
So
course.
yeah, why not? Let's start out the summer with a little surgery on the ankle. Ugh,
My
why not?
prediction, I'm gonna go 1-1. Draw.
Oh, you're gonna go with the draw. You're gonna
Why not?
give have Southampton do get something out of the game for the
Why not? That's just kind of, I mean, I'm doing draw because that's how our season goes. That's how you're supposed to bet, right? You bet on the draw.
Sure, I'll go 2-2. Why not?
Okay.
Why not? Three quick things, although there's more than three here tonight.
And they're not quick.
Well, some of them are.
Well, though yours are quick, mine were
One,
long.
yeah, so Reddit founder Alexis Ohanian bought a 20 million pound stake, so that's an 8 to 10% share in Chelsea Women. So the reason I want to bring this up, more and more financial commitments are being made by a whole bunch of other people into the women's game. So that is really good to see. This Alexis fella, he's also married to Serena Williams, so there's some star power now. More star power, I guess, in the Chelsea ownership group.
I have a shitty thought about this sale.
Oh, oh.
This I think this has to do with all of the shithousery that they do because they're separating their men's team and their women's team. And the only way to do that is to sell the women's team. And what that does is it gives the men's side money because the women's side is just an expense and you can write off those expenses. So them selling 8 to 10% for 20 million is a way to balance the books in terms
for the
of
for the men's side,
for right the money.
what you're
Yep.
saying.
Yep.
Interesting. Interesting. Huh.
It's always about the
Quick
money,
thing
Matt.
number two. It's yeah, follow the money. I've heard somebody say that before. This Champions League final is Arsenal's 125th Women's Champions League match. They've won 73 of those matches and they've scored 341 goals in
Wow,
all
that's a
those.
lot of goals.
That's a bunch. Only Lyon has played in more matches, 152. And this UCL final is also Barca's 100th Women's Champions League match. So a couple of interesting facts about the teams facing off. This will
That
be
is
memorable for one of
two and
them.
three quarter goals per game, and I'm thinking we're gonna score three. So right
Three. So
there,
yeah,
yeah.
you're right on. You're right
I
on.
hope. I hope.
You're right on.
Matt, we talked a little bit a couple episodes ago about women's attendance,
Mm,
and I did a little bit of research and I found a Boxing Day match. And there's an article, it's by the BBC, the Boxing Day match that changed the Boxing Day game that changed women's football. So if you Google that, you'll find it. But there was uh, there was a team. So what I'm going to say here is about women's soccer, but there's a bit about Goodison Park, and I'm going to save some of that for a quick thing four. The Dick Kerr Ladies Football Club was formed in Preston, England in 1917 by female workers at the Dick Kerr and Company munitions factory during World War I. It's DICK, comma KERR, two names. Dick Kerr. The team began as a way to raise morale and funds for wounded soldiers, and they got pretty popular because they were good. They were a good team, and they would draw huge crowds that would pay money to help the soldiers.
hmm.
So they played a game in 1920 that drew then, and this was at Goodison Park, 53,000 spectators. Of course, Goodison Park doesn't hold that many today, but it was standing room only in a lot of cases back in the day,
Mm,
right? Up until they
gotcha.
couldn't do
I
that anymore,
could.
and the bullying and not the bullying, the uh, whatever they
The
call it.
viruses, yeah.
Yeah, all the mess that happened in the 70s and 80s and early
Hmm.
90s in England. But anyway,
Absolutely.
so after that, the Football Association banned women from playing on affiliated grounds because football is unsuitable for females.
It's
But if you look this game up, the Dick Kerr ladies defeated St. Helens ladies 4-0. There were 53,000, as I said, but there were 14,000 fans turned away. And it's a pretty big milestone in women's football. So I was looking at, man, it's been a long time. And how, where, and how long did it take to beat that record of 53,000 fans? So it stood as a record, an official record, until the 2012 Olympics final that saw the U.S. defeat Japan 2-1 in Wembley Stadium in front of 80,203 fans. So it was 92 years that
Wow.
record stood.
Right.
So then I was like, okay, well, that was a world, and they were nations. So the first English women's club match to break that record was Chelsea against Man United in 2023. That was all British clubs, right? 77,000 again at Wembley.
Again
But
at Wembley.
right, February 17th, 2024, the WSL was Arsenal Man United at Emirates was 60,160, and that's the British record now.
Okay.
So WSL record. The British
Right.
record was the FA Cup one, just to be clear. But so this is Arsenal. In over and over, we've talked about this, how much they draw fans, but the world record for women is Barcelona, and they set the record in 2022, like mid 2022, playing Real Madrid in front of just over 91,500. And then about a week or so later, they played Wolfsburg in the Champions League semifinal and had 91,648. And that's the record. So the reason I say this is it's not going to be a stadium like this, but this game is between two of the best drawing, like fan
Ah,
supported clubs in the world. And these two teams are pushing fandom in women's sports to incredible new heights. I said this year, Arsenal had 300 plus thousand fans. Everton had 13,000. You know, we talked
yeah.
about that. So
Yeah.
going back to Everton, the men's team is closing Goodison
Yeah.
Park, and they were going to knock it down, and they were going to put in, some kind of housing and retail and stuff like that. They moved into the 52,888 seat Hill Dickinson Stadium, located at Bramley-Moore Dock. And
Oh my
so
gosh, that's a mouthful. Hill
they built their
Dickinson.
stadium on top of water.
Mm,
They bridged it across two docks, and but they were going to knock it down. And so Goodison is it opened in 1892,
mm-hmm.
and it's the first purpose-built football stadium in England. So the other ones were rugby or whatever they wanted to play there. This was the first just soccer, just football. And so they just, I don't want to tear it down kind of thing, and so rather than redevelop it for community use, they gave this historic stadium to the women's team to use. And so going all the way back to 1920, when the 92 years record for women playing in anywhere in the world was at Goodison, now it's going to be a women's stadium.
Only nice.
How about that? And so
Nice.
maybe they'll start being able to draw. If they can play well, they'll maybe be able to start to draw more and more and more fans into that stadium and become a better team. So it's good. It's all good for the women's game.
All good things. That's an interesting trip down attendance.
Well, I had to bring it from Goodison and then bring it back
That's
to Goodison, but
wild.
yeah,
Yeah, you started out at Goodison and you wind up right back at Goodison. It's good that they're keeping it around.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's good for everybody.
So we'll do something in the middle of this week as a reminder. We're having a little bit of a meetup with the gents from District Gooners, and
Mm,
we're going to try
right.
to pull together an event, an inaugural event, I hope, between District Gooners and Stateside Gooners, and see what we can pull together sort of towards a season ender after these two games and this weekend, and then probably taking some time off in June, but we'll be back maybe end of June or early July with some silly season and what
Yeah,
what
some
next year
initial
preview is going to look like.
and folks, if you paid attention to Arteta's after comments of the of the last game against Michael Oliver FC, you'll know this is an aggressive summer. This is a very aggressive summer. Big one. It's a
I
big one for
remember
Arsenal.
saying over the course of, I don't know, March, April,
Mhm.
that I thought we were going to have 250, maybe more million dollars. And I've read it's going to be maybe 300.
Yeah,
And
I've read
I
crazy
don't,
numbers.
yeah, I don't know if 300 is going to be, it's the number that's probably under the, um, I forget the name, PSL, PRL,
The
PSR,
PR, yeah.
PSR,
hmm The whatever the regulations.
profitability and sustainability rules, PSR. So that's what I kind of calculated based on what I thought was going to be available after Champions League and getting as far as we did, and how I talked about all that a few episodes ago, where, finishing where we finished and getting all the money and all of it. Um, 300 might include some of the sales that we're expecting to have and that we're guaranteed to have and things like that based on options. But it could just be that it's 300 and then anything else is bonus. So,
Ooh, so you're saying 300 is the floor.
well,
We could go
I'm saying
way up.
maybe it is, maybe, because
Okay.
I don't know if they're saying that includes sales, but Gyökeres, Nico Williams, whether we want to do Ekatike, I
Oh
mean, there's
boy.
going to be a lot of options. I think
Exciting.
the Sesko and the Isak, they're out of the picture because they're going to be too much money. But we'll get into that probably.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, we'll get into
Hopefully
that,
we
but
get into
it's
it.
going to be
It'll
really,
be fun.
and it looks like there's going to be some stuff. They're not supposed to be able to announce these things. Used to be that you couldn't announce these things until the 1st of July because contracts go to the end of June, and you
hmm
can't sell a player that's, blah blah blah. So you can't announce a player who's still yours, gone, and someone else signed it, that kind of thing. So who knows? I'm seeing all over the place that Liverpool signed this player and so signed that player, and I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm seeing all kinds of things all over the place, and uh, I am glad we have Mr. Berta helping us out with all of his Rolodex of connections, and it'll be really cool to see what he's able to do with his ability to get us from 2-1. We're there. We've been in second now for 3 years in a row. Let's get from 2-1, and he's the guy to do it.
It's interesting that I think some of the reporters are trying to bait Arteta into some kind of dispute already between he and Berta. And that was
Oh
part of
boy.
the thing he was saying the other day after the game was, no, we know what we want. We know what we need. There was always good communication between Edu and me, Arteta talking about himself. And
Mhm.
there's going to be that kind of communication because if we don't have that communication and he wants to buy somebody that I don't want to buy, then we're not having that communication. And so I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he was saying. Like, we're going to have and it said to me, like, I'm wondering who's in charge. Like, is Berta going to be like, this is the player you're getting and you have to be okay with it? And then he's going, oh, okay, well, then I have to be okay. Or if he's saying, I'm never going to use that guy, so why are you going to buy him? Because he doesn't fit what we're looking at. And so is there something going on? Or I think probably not. But the fact that they're asking about it means that there might be something behind the scenes, even just about whether it's going to be Sesko or Gyökeres. Because I understand Arteta wants Sesko and Berta wants Gyökeres.
Well, we'll see how this plays itself out then. That's interesting. I was not aware of the particular preferences or that there would be discussions, high level discussions about players
It's interesting because Sesko scored 13, I think, goals in the
in
Bundesliga.
the Bundesliga.
And the
Mhm.
Bundesliga is maybe, I don't know, for me, top two, maybe top three. I mean, I guess goals scored. I feel like the Bundesliga is the most similar to Premier League. Whereas Gilchrist wasn't even in a top five league, but he scored 52 goals or something like that in all competitions.
Oh, it's
Lots
insane
and
on
lots of
goals.
those, the majority of those in the Portuguese league. Portuguese league is not our league. And, when he played for Coventry, he was pretty good and they didn't pay a lot of money for him when they got him over there. And so I don't know. It's going to be really interesting, but it's hard when we don't do this every day and we're just looking at certain statistics to try to calculate out, well, what was the strength of schedule and who did he score the goals against? And, what was and you start digging into all of that. And that's why they have 200-page dossiers at Arsenal on these
Well,
guys.
and I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head there, Eric. We don't know how they want to deploy these guys, how they want to use them. What's the plan for next year? Are they going to be a little more direct? Do they need somebody that's more direct? I don't know. I don't know what their thoughts are. You know, you see Arteta reference the plan. We're now in the next phase of the plan. And I think that phase is invest in the attack. But we don't know exactly what that means or how they want to attack. We've seen how they've wanted to attack before, but we didn't have an amazing striker up there. Will that be different? Will we attack different because of that? I don't know. I'm fascinated to find out. It'll be the tale of next year.
It's interesting to look at like the first season that Manchester City had a striker that was very different in Erling Haaland than what they ever had before, and how their game changed. And then they went back to the older style of play, and look how Haaland's not as he's not scoring as much. They forced him into the system rather than bending the system to him, and they're not scoring as many goals and they're not winning the league.
Sure,
They're
it's
somewhere
not the
further
same,
down.
is it?
We don't know where they're going to finish, but they're not going to finish probably. I don't know. They can't finish second. They can't finish better than third, maybe even
Yes, we'll
fourth.
be on top of them
But
this
it's
this
it's
this season.
interesting, and I get a sense that we have to change what we're doing. And my question for you
Hmm.
in the last couple minutes here is for anybody who's stuck with us, because we've had this conversation, and I'm interested to see what you say on the record.
Ooh, good.
Um, you've been very and I've agreed, very you've talked how important it is to go from 3 to 2 to 1.
Yes.
And that
It's
getting
hard. How
Berta, and
hard
as
it
we
is.
talked about who those
Mhm.
individuals are that have the history of getting from something else to first place, and Berta did it, and he did it a couple of times over 10 years where
Mhm.
he was going against two really tough teams in Real Madrid and Barcelona. So he didn't get it every year, but he got it, getting them from 2 to 1, and with a coach that was there already. My question is, if we don't get from 2 to 1, how long, number one, how long do you give until we get from 2 to 1? How many more years? How many more seasons? What trophies will hold off? And if we don't do it next year, is it time to get a new manager? Which is really the question. Is it time to get a new manager because he's not the guy to get us from 2 to 1?
There's a lot in there. That was a lot there, Eric. But I think I would take this part first. I think Arteta is going to get at least a couple more seasons. That's minimum. I think he's, I think this coming season, he's going to finally have the squad that is deep enough that he can pull all of the strings that he wants to pull to make this team run how he wants it to run. I think he's going to have that ability. Will he be able to win the league? We've seen this year, and for me, just to even go even more on the record here, I only see two competitions that are of interest: the league and the Champions League. I know the FA Cup's out there, I know the Carabao Cup's out there, but those are things that I'm not too interested in. I know they're trophies, but I don't care. That's not something I care about at all. I'm more interested in the Champions League and winning the league title. Probably in that order, because Arsenal have won the league title before. I'd love to win the Champions League. So I think a couple of seasons for Arteta, because you saw this year, injuries happen, crazy stuff happens. If that similar injury pattern continues for Arsenal, then it's going to be really hard to win the league. So I'm not sure if I've addressed your question accurately or to your satisfaction, but I think he's going to get a couple of years to win one of those trophies, and he will win one of those trophies in the next couple of years.
I think it
I
depends for
don't.
me on progress. And we moved forward and backwards at the same time this year, didn't we?
Yeah, crazy.
And he
Yeah.
didn't make excuses, but tournaments are much different than leagues.
hmm
And it's interesting because United have turned into a tournament team. They won the Europa League, they won some FA Cups, after Fergie, and they're going to maybe win another one this year, but they're turning into a tournament club
hmm
instead of a league club, which they've historically been during the Premier League era. Not really before the Premier League era, and we talked about that. They were a tournament club then, a cup
hmm
club.
True.
Um, so it's going to be interesting, but I feel like if we regress again, then he's got to go. He's got to go. We need to get that person that can bring us from somewhere else to one. And if
Yeah,
we
it's the
regress
definition
this
of
coming
regress.
season, he's got to go.
And I think he'd be the first one to go. Yeah, he'd be the first one to admit it.
I don't think so.
You don't. Okay.
No. Anyway, got to go. Good to see
All
your face,
right.
as
Good to
always.
see you.
Talk to you soon.
See
Bye.
ya. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to Stateside Gooners Arsenal FC show. Every episode, we bring American Gooners together to dive into the emotions, the tactics, and all the action on and off the pitch. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, share it with your fellow Gooners to keep the Arsenal conversation going. Until next time, from across the pond, this is where our Arsenal community meets: win, lose, draw. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody.